Hello everyone, and welcome back to Hearts of Iron 4. Today I want to talk about a topic that took me a long time to figure out, and that may be a little controversial, so I will try as much as I can to be objective about it, despite being sort of firmly in one camp here. And the thing I want to talk about is why I stopped caring about the meta in Hearts of Iron 4. Now, when I started playing, I was hugely excited. But I very quickly realized that Hearts of Iron 4 is a very, very complex game. This is what I was literally after. I wanted a very complex game, so I very quickly started reading everything that I could find on the Hearts of Iron 4 wiki and studying it, taking notes, trying to figure out how things worked. And then went into my very first games and obviously got, at least that's how I felt at the time, got my butt handed to me. I was losing ground. I was being pushed back. I didn't win instantly. So I figured I must be doing something wrong and started going to look on Reddit and on YouTube for strategies and hints and things beyond the numbers on, how to be more successful at the game. That led me to the route towards the meta. Now, what is the meta? Well, in order to understand that, let's discuss two potential views that we can have when it comes to playing Hearts of Iron 4. There is a sort of an old history, grand strategy kind of viewpoint. So you're coming from a military historical background and you're looking at an interesting experience in a timeline that you're quite interested in. And you want to see, you're attracted to the amount of detail and the amount of control that you can exert. And the other one is a competitive RTS, or real-time strategy kind of approach, where you're looking at it as a game. Yes, in an interesting time period, but primarily as a game. And this is exemplified by comments that I've seen, or elaborate posts that I've seen on Reddit, for example, to say that no, Hearts of Iron 4 is not about front lines, armies, or anything. It's just a game of victory points. And anybody pretending otherwise is a noob and an idiot. And if you're not using paratroopers to just occupy victory points and capitulate other countries, then you're doing it wrong. There is a sort of competitive toxicity that I find shining through quite a bit when it comes to the meta and these kind of ideas. I've had comments on the channel here, and I am very happy and open to discussing anything, as long as it's done in a reasonable manner. But I had comments like, bro, I got 5k hours in multiplayer, I have never seen you, you're just a nobody, shut the F up. I've seen posts on Reddit like, how could you not grind your generals in Spain? What kind of noob are you? What the heck are you doing building anything besides bathtub submarines? If you're not you have to paratrooper cheese the allies early on, but then you have to grind your generals in London, so don't you dare capture London, stuff like that. So this is a mechanical view of the game, and not everybody who does that obviously is toxic. There are a lot of really, really interesting things out there, statistical evaluations, testing, and deep insights into the game mechanics coming out of this approach that I very much value and enjoy watching, and that are helping. But for me, it's not the driver of the whole thing, because the real-time strategy view and viewing it as a game leads you down towards min-maxing, towards optimization, and towards trying to find flaws, exploits, and just basically anything to get an edge. And saying this thing is objectively better than everything else. This combination of tools is better than everything else. This particular approach will beat everything else in the game. That is the meta. So why did I stop caring about it? Well, toxicity in multiplayer gaming is not specific to Hearts of Iron 4, and it's everywhere. So this is by itself not a turnoff. But what I did realize after a while is that the meta is changing. And that makes sense, because every time the developers put up a new version of Hearts of Iron 4, they are rebalancing the game. And they are trying to open up, because Hearts of Iron 4 has a massive amount of depth and possibilities. You can go down to the individual pieces of equipment in your divisions. You can go down to the individual turrets that you put on a ship, or modules that you put on a tank or an airplane. You have an economic anchor. You have an absolutely massive amount of focus trees and different paths that you can take. You've got formable nations that you can create. You've got all kinds of interesting features, but sort of the meta approach oftentimes kills these by just being exclusionary in that regard and saying, no, this is the one thing that works. You have to build your heavy cruisers with a single heavy cruiser gun and just light cruiser guns, and then you can just absolutely steamroll anything in the game, and you're done with it. But don't you dare put field hospitals or armored cars in your divisions, because, that would be stupid. So the devs are rebalancing the game with every update, which means that the meta is changing, which is why you see videos popping up all the time saying this is the new meta with this DLC or with this update for this particular item. So it becomes a rat race. You end up chasing the meta unless you are, having 8 hours a day to play and you've got nothing better to do. But for somebody who's a casual player, it becomes an absolute chase. The other thing that is, if you are playing single player, you don't need the meta. And this for me really was kind of the biggest thing, because I'm mostly playing single player for, well, 2 reasons. First of all, I am not actually a fan of real-time strategy. I prefer to have things that are turn-based. And playing in single player makes it very easy because I can just pause the game whenever I want to. Also, I have a day job and I don't have 6 to 8 hours to sit down on a single session. In multiplayer, especially not with random people on the internet. I would probably consider it with friends if I come around if I had enough time and had a group to do this with. But if you're playing single player, it's a very different view and a very different approach, and you don't need the meta. You don't need to 100% optimize everything. So the route that I was led down by this is I was limiting my own exploration. And it led to the instantly giving up scenario, where I was playing as France, and I lost a province or two somewhere to Germany, and I gave up. And I said, okay, I didn't perfect it. I did something wrong. I lost too many planes over England. I did something wrong. So I threw it away and tried to do it again. And that was my initial experience of it, and that became frustrating quite often. It leads to single solution thinking. So I went and said, okay, so I've got all this naval design tree here, and I've got all these options. But what I should actually be doing is throwing all these out and building these and mass producing these things, or I should just be building paratroopers. I've spent days and days researching combat width after the 2040 whole thing changed, and poured over statistics and tried different things just to realize that it really doesn't matter that much. So it brings you down a path towards a single solution thinking and towards okay, if I haven't min-maxed my approach, if anything goes wrong in my run, it's a failure. I have to redo it because I haven't adhered to the meta. I haven't done the optimal thing. So that said, if you are playing multiplayer, and again, this is outside my realm of experience, but if you are playing multiplayer and you are playing against other people, obviously you do kind of need to know the RTS approach. How do I play to win? Because the other people are most likely not going to be interested in challenge, exploration, and overcoming different scenarios and these kind of things. It's more like, how do I win? How do I beat my opponent? And for that, you need to know the best approach, game mechanics wise, stat. So if you're going into that route, absolutely, spend your time, go down this way, and if you're enjoying this, good on you. But for all of you out there who feel like, who may be feeling bad for not playing the meta, who may be feeling like, oh, I started a run but something went wrong and then I had to give up because I hadn't min-maxed it correctly, who feel, reading the comments and who feel inadequate and saying, okay, if I don't have 1,000 hours in the game, maybe I'm just not good enough to play it. This is all not true. Real military campaigns in history never went as planned. You have to embrace adversity. You have to embrace the challenge, and you have to embrace failure within a run, right? Try to try to set your objective and try to, if something goes wrong, try to salvage what you can. Try to see if you can overcome it. See if you can find a solution within the game. Don't just, hyper focus on the thing that went wrong and then throw it all away and say, okay, it's never going to be any good. Learn something from it. For me, the most satisfying game experiences, and again, I'm talking single player here, are coming from overcoming adversity and a challenge, not from easy mode. If I could capitulate the Soviet Union in 1937, where's the challenge? Where's the challenge in the rest of the game? I could spend a couple more hours just rolling through Europe and basically running over everything, but where's the fun in that? So set your target. Maybe your target is capitulating the Soviet Union as Germany in 1937, and then you say, okay, I'm done. That was my run. This is what I wanted to achieve. This was the fun part. Or you say, I want to do a world conquest as quickly as possible. Or you say, I want to play as Ethiopia and liberate and create the African Union. Maybe you want to explore the monarchist Sweden path that is here now. Check out a couple of countries that are not traditional. That are not the same every time. Maybe you want to play as the Kingdom of Hungary, and you want to recreate Austria-Hungary, and then find your path in the game and see how it goes forward. Anyway, so what I'm saying is, if you're playing single player, don't be afraid of failure. Don't be afraid of a challenge. You don't have to follow the current meta with everything. Explore the options. Look at the designers. Look at try out different divisions. Build super heavy tanks. Build crazy airplanes. Build battleships. Build carriers in game. Try out your navy. I'm gonna make a video, maybe a couple of videos about the navy, because I hugely enjoy the naval game, and I think it's an underappreciated part, especially due to a lot of people just limiting it to the I just need to bathtub submarine the English Channel so I can invade England and then grind my generals in London or something, or grind XP in London, something like that. But there's a lot more to it. So you might be losing out unless you are obviously playing for multiplayer, playing for the win, and you need to know what is the optimal way to play. But if you're not coming from that corner, try it and see where it leads you, and enjoy the depth of this game without worrying too much about if you're min-maxing or what the meta is.